Your body is keeping a secret, not in your head, in your shoulders, in the knot between your ribs that tightens when someone raises their voice, in the stomach that clenches every Sunday night before the work week begins, in the jaw you grind in your sleep until your teeth crack, in the lower back that seized up the week your mother called for the first time in 3 years. You went to the doctor, they ran tests, they found nothing, and they sent you home with painkillers and a shrug. But the pain didn't leave, because the pain was never in your body, it was in your memory, a memory your mind erased, but your body refused to forget. Freud discovered this over 100 years ago, and the medical establishment laughed at him. They're not laughing anymore. In 1893, Freud and his colleague Joseph Breuer published a paper that contained one of the most important sentences in the history of medicine. They wrote that hysterics suffer mainly from reminiscences. What they meant was this: people were showing up in clinics across Vienna with paralyzed arms, blind eyes, numb legs, chronic pain, seizures, and uncontrollable tremors. Every physical test came back normal. There was nothing wrong with their bodies, but the symptoms were real. The pain was real. The paralysis was real. And every doctor in Europe was calling these patients liars or lunatics. Freud said they were neither. He said their bodies were speaking a language that their minds had forbidden them to speak with words. Think about what happens when something terrible happens to you. Not an inconvenience, not a bad day. Something that overwhelms your capacity to process it. The kind of event where time seems to stop and your body floods with sensations that have no category. Terror so complete, it bypasses thought. Shame so deep, it erases language. Pain so sudden that your mind simply shuts down the recording and says this didn't happen, but it did happen, and your body was there for every second of it. Your muscles tensed, your heart rate spiked, your breathing changed, your nervous system flooded with cortisol and adrenaline and locked itself into a state of emergency. And when your mind later erased the memory, pressed delete and said we're not keeping this one, your body didn't get the memo. Your body kept the file, not as a thought, not as a narrative you could access and examine, as a sensation, a tightness, a flinch, a pattern of tension so familiar you stopped noticing it was there. This is what Freud called conversion. The mind converts an unbearable emotional experience into a physical symptom. The emotion can't go up through consciousness because the ego has blocked that exit. The words can't come out because the superego has decided they're too dangerous, too shameful, too disruptive. So the feeling goes down, into the body, into the muscles, into the organs, into the nervous system, and it stays there. Not for days, not for weeks, sometimes for decades, waiting patiently for someone to ask it what it's holding. One of Freud's earliest and most famous cases was a woman he called Anna O. She was 21 years old, intelligent, creative, and completely falling apart. She had lost the ability to speak her native German and could only communicate in English and French. She had a severe cough that no doctor could explain. Her right arm and both legs were partially paralyzed. She had disturbances in her vision, difficulty swallowing, and episodes where she seemed to enter a trance-like state and become someone else entirely. Every doctor who examined her found the same thing. Nothing physically wrong. Her body was perfectly healthy, but her symptoms were devastating and getting worse. It was Breuer, not Freud, who first treated Anna O, and what he discovered changed medicine forever. Through long sessions of what Anna herself named the talking cure, Breuer encouraged her to speak freely about her life, her memories, her feelings, and as she talked, a pattern emerged. Every single physical symptom could be traced to a specific moment in time, a specific memory, a specific emotion that she had never been allowed to express. Her arm had become paralyzed on the exact day she sat at her dying father's bedside, wanting desperately to reach out and touch him, but being told to sit still and be quiet. The impulse to reach went into the arm. The arm froze. Her cough began during a period when she wanted to scream at her family for ignoring her pain, but couldn't because good daughters don't scream. The scream went into her throat. The throat produced a cough instead. Her inability to speak German surfaced during a time when the language itself had become associated with the arguments and tensions in her household. Her mind abandoned the language to escape the memories it carried. Every symptom was a sentence her body was trying to say because her mouth had been forbidden to. Freud took Breuer's discovery and built an entire framework around it. He argued that the body is the unconscious mind's last resort. When repression works, the memory stays buried and you feel nothing. When repression fails partially, the memory surfaces as anxiety, as nightmares, as the 3 a.m. thoughts we talked about in our first session. But when the memory is too dangerous even for those partial outlets, the body becomes the messenger. The symptom is the memory speaking the only language it has left. Think about your own body for a moment. Not the parts that hurt because of injury or illness. The other parts. The chronic tension you've had so long you can't remember when it started. The headache that appears every time you visit your parents. The nausea you feel before a specific type of conversation. The way your chest tightens when someone says we need to talk. The lump in your throat during moments that shouldn't be emotional. The exhaustion that no amount of sleep fixes. The way your hands go cold when a particular name appears on your phone. The way your breathing becomes shallow the moment you walk into your childhood home, even though nothing bad is happening, even though everyone is smiling, even though you told yourself this time would be different. You've probably explained these away. Stress, bad posture, not enough water, too much caffeine, getting older, and some of those explanations might be partially true. But Freud would ask you a different question. He wouldn't ask what hurts. He would ask, when did it start hurting? Not this week, not this year. When was the very first time you felt that exact sensation, and what was happening in your life at that exact moment? Because the body doesn't invent pain, it archives it. Because the body keeps time differently than the mind organizes memories into a narrative. This happened, then this, then this. The body doesn't do narrative, the body does sensation. And when a sensation from the past matches a sensation in the present, the body reacts as if the past is happening right now. This is why a certain smell can make your stomach drop instantly, and you don't even know why until 3 hours later, when the memory finally surfaces. Why a specific tone of voice can make your shoulders climb to your ears before you even understand what was said. Why being touched in a certain way can make you freeze even though you're safe and you trust the person touching you and you want to be touched, and still your body says no without consulting you. Why walking into a hospital makes some people dizzy even when they're there for someone else. Your body is not reacting to the present. Your body is reacting to a file it opened automatically. A file your mind stamped classified decades ago, but that your muscles can access anytime, anywhere, without permission. Modern science has a name for this now. They call it somatic memory. The body's ability to store and recall traumatic experiences independently of the conscious mind. Research in the last 2 decades has confirmed what Freud intuited over a century ago. Trauma is not just psychological. It is physiological. It lives in the nervous system. It reshapes the way your brain processes sensory information. It changes your posture, your breathing, your muscle tone, your pain threshold, your digestion, your immune function. Brain scans of trauma survivors show that when triggered, the areas of the brain responsible for language and rational thought, Broca's area and the prefrontal cortex, go offline, while the areas responsible for survival and sensation, the amygdala and the brainstem, light up like fire alarms. The person is not remembering the trauma, they are reliving it, in their body, in real time. Their heart rate is the same, their breathing is the same, their muscle tension is the same. The event might be 20 years in the past, but the body is experiencing it as happening right now, in this room, in this second. Bessel van der Kolk, one of the leading trauma researchers of the last 50 years, titled his most famous book, The Body Keeps the Score. That title is a direct echo of what Freud and Breuer wrote in 1893, The Body Keeps the Score. It counts every blow the mind refuses to acknowledge, every swallowed scream, every frozen impulse, every moment when you needed to run and couldn't, or fight and didn't, or cry and weren't allowed to, and it presents the bill in the only currency it has: sensation, pain, tension, numbness, illness that has no name and no scan and no explanation, except the one that lives in a memory you no longer remember having. Here's what this means for you practically. If you have chronic physical symptoms that doctors can't fully explain, there may be a memory stored in your body that your mind deleted long ago. This doesn't mean you're imagining the pain. The pain is absolutely real. It means the source of the pain might not be where you're looking. It might not be in the muscle or the joint or the nerve. It might be in a moment you've forgotten, a moment your body hasn't. Freud was careful about this point, and I want to be equally careful. Not every headache is a repressed memory. Not every backache is unresolved trauma. The body gets injured. The body ages. The body breaks down for purely physical reasons. But when the pain is chronic, when it resists treatment, when it appears and disappears in patterns that correlate with emotional situations rather than physical ones, when doctors keep telling you nothing is wrong but your body keeps insisting something is, that is the moment to stop looking outward and start looking inward. That is the moment Freud would say, your body is trying to tell you something your mind won't let you hear. The cruelest irony of all this is that the body's memory is trying to help you. It's not punishing you. It's not broken. It's not overreacting. It's doing exactly what it's designed to do. It's keeping you alert to a danger that once was real. The tightness in your chest when someone raises their voice exists because there was a time when a raised voice meant genuine threat. Your body learned to prepare for impact, and it never unlearned. Because no one ever told it the danger had passed. No one ever sat with it and said that was then and this is now, and you can let go. Your mind moved on, built new relationships, started a new chapter, changed cities, changed jobs, changed everything on the surface. But your body is still standing in the old room, fists clenched, shoulders raised, breath held, heart pounding, waiting for the blow that already fell years ago. It will wait forever if it has to. It is the most loyal part of you, and the most ignored. This is why you can be in the safest room in the world and still feel unsafe. Why you can be with the kindest person you've ever met and still flinch when they move too quickly. Why you can know intellectually that you are loved and still feel in your bones that love is something that gets taken away without warning. Your body is not confused. Your body is remembering, and it will keep remembering until someone helps it finish. How do you tell it the danger is over? Freud's answer was the same one Breuer stumbled into with Anna O. You speak it. You give the memory words, not all at once, not violently, not by ripping open a wound and expecting it to heal in the air. Carefully, slowly, with someone safe, a therapist, a trusted person. Even yourself in a quiet room, you describe not just what happened, but what your body felt when it happened. The tightness, the heat, the freeze, the nausea, the impulse to run that was never allowed to complete itself. You let the sensation surface, and you give it language, and in doing so, you complete the circuit that was interrupted when the trauma occurred. The body froze because the emotion couldn't be expressed. When the emotion is finally expressed, the body begins to thaw. Not all at once, slowly, the way ice melts in spring, the way a fist opens one finger at a time after being clenched for so long The hand forgot it could do anything else. This is not a fast process. It is not a comfortable one. But every therapist who works with trauma, from psychoanalysts to somatic experiencing practitioners to EMDR specialists, is doing some version of what Freud described. They are helping the body finish a conversation it started years ago and was never allowed to complete. Tonight, try this. Lie still, close your eyes, turn off the noise, and instead of thinking about your life, feel your body. Start at the top of your head and move slowly downward. Your forehead, your jaw, your throat, your shoulders, your chest, your stomach, your hips, your legs. Move through yourself like you're reading a book you've never opened. Notice where you hold tension. Notice where there's numbness, which is just as important because numbness is not the absence of feeling, it's the presence of so much feeling that the body shut the channel down entirely. Notice the places that feel hot or cold or tight or empty. Don't try to fix anything. Don't try to understand anything. Just notice. And when you find a place that holds something, the knot in your stomach, the band across your chest, the ache in your throat that has lived there for years, stay with it, breathe into it, and ask it gently, not with demand, not with impatience. What are you holding? You might not get an answer tonight. You might not get an answer for weeks. The body doesn't operate on your schedule. It waited this long. It will wait longer if it needs to. But the asking itself changes something. It tells your body that someone is finally listening, that the message it has been sending for years, through pain, through tension, through symptoms that no doctor could explain, is no longer falling on deaf ears. And sometimes that alone is enough for the first knot to loosen. Not because you solved anything, because you stopped ignoring it. Your body has been keeping score your whole life. Every argument you swallowed, every tear you held back, every time you said, "I'm fine," when you were falling apart, every time you smiled through something that was breaking you, it wrote all of it down, in your shoulders, in your stomach, in your jaw, in your back, in places you've stopped paying attention to because the pain became so normal, it stopped feeling like pain and started feeling like you. Maybe it's time to read what it wrote. But your body isn't the only place that stores what your mind won't face. Sometimes the hiding place isn't a muscle or a joint. It's a dream that keeps coming back, night after night, year after year, wearing different costumes but telling the same story. In our next session, we'll talk about the dream that keeps returning and what Freud believed it's desperately trying to tell you. This has been your session on the Couch Freud. If you want to understand what your mind is hiding from you, subscribe. New sessions every day.